The home is the child's first school and it takes a community to raise a child. So it's important that we balance this complete triangle of learning to be Welcome to Shiksha Sarathi, episode 9. In episode 8, we discussed how the school and the environment can be made ready for children. And in this episode, we are going to discuss how important it is for the school, teacher, parent partnership to be strong. Because the home is the child's first school and it takes a community to raise a child. So it's important that we balance this complete triangle of learning to be seamless and to help parents understand how powerful play and activities can be for children and how the whole learning process can be enhanced using the simplest of resources from the home. So there is a list of learning outcomes that has been given in the National Curriculum Framework. Now what teachers and schools can do is that we can take some of these learning outcomes and make a set of related activities and send these suggestions to parents so that they can develop that environment and use the home resources and help the children to develop the concepts which can be reinforced in the school, or vice versa. Introduce the concept in the school and reinforce at home. So both would just help it to become like a cohesive partnership between the school and home. So let's take one domain at a time and list out a few activities related to that particular domain that can be done at home with home resources, right? So we are going to start with the physical domain. So one of the outcomes says, shows a liking and understanding for nutritious food and does not waste food. So what can the parent do? They can actually talk about nutrients and ensure that every meal time small portions are served and there is no wastage, and that should become a process and then an observation. So then it becomes easy for the child to actually implement and show this the signs and the observation for the learning outcome. Another one is practices self-care and personal hygiene. So small activities like washing their hands properly, bathing independently, brushing their teeth, small things like putting the lid of the toothpaste back, washing the toothbrush properly, combing their hair, rinsing their mouth after eating, using the toilet independently, and the basic toilet etiquette of checking and leaving the seat clean and dry, not spilling and wetting the floor, being cautious of leaking taps, closing the tap properly, using soap carefully so that they don't spill it, they don't waste it. Something as simple as tying of shoelaces, buttoning, putting hooks, all of this can help the children develop self-care. Another one of the learning outcomes is keeps the immediate environment clean. So you can do simple activities for cleaning up, tidying up, dusting, so on and so forth, and let it become a seamless routine in the child's life. Another one of the learning outcomes is understands unsafe situations and asks for help. So here, parents can actually sit down and narrate stories, talk to the children and seek responses, observe responses to understand how children react in different situations. Another one of the learning outcomes for physical development is develops a fit and flexible body. So how at home a simple thing like free play, outdoor activities can be ensured. For the small muscle development, folding of clothes, buttoning of clothes, stirring, hanging clothes to dry, putting clothes clips, then carrying water in a tray, pouring water, so on and so forth can become very easy activities to take forward. Now we'll go to the next domain, the social emotional domain, and how we can use simple home activities to develop that domain. So one of the learning outcomes is starts recognizing self as an individual belonging to a family or community. So here the parents and family can actually introduce them to the family tree, different relatives, perhaps take them around the neighborhood, talk to them about the name of the neighborhood, make them meet different people from the community, just to make them feel a part of this particular group. Another one of the learning outcomes for the social emotional domain is children develop a positive attitude towards productive work and service or seva. So parents can introduce the children to the exercises of practical life, which are the first and the most important step to empower children with the simplest of life skills. These are activities that the children can do to participate in home chores and associate themselves with tasks that they usually see adults do. And they feel that they belong and they are responsible. So the tasks can range from helping elders to taking out certain responsibility and actually being consistent on it. So these things will really go a long way for the children. So now, some learning outcomes from the cognitive development domain. So one of the learning outcomes is sorts objects into groups and subgroups based on more than one property. So what can you do at home? A simple sorting of fruits and vegetables after a day of shopping can help the children to develop this skill. Another learning outcome is selects appropriate tools and units to perform simple measurements of length, weight, and volume of objects in their immediate environment. The children can actually use measuring jars, small bowls, glasses, to fill and check how many of the small jars or vessels will take to fill a big one. It's a simple calculation. How many footsteps from one room to the other? How many handspans, is their dining table or their bed? And then you can ask them, so what did you use to measure this? And give them a sort of an idea of how to use measurements. When you take them to the market, you tell them that, okay, these are the fruits. You tell them to weigh half kg for you. So slowly the children will start understanding each of these concepts. Now, let's go to some of the learning outcomes for literacy and language domain. So one of them says, understands oral instruction for a complex task and gives clear oral instructions for the same to others. So children do so many activities at home for which adults keep giving them instructions. So one good way would be to ask them to count the instructions given for a certain task and repeat them in the same sequence. They can also plan a sequence of instructions for the adults and explain how they want them to do it, and then the adult can count and say it back to them so that it becomes like an activity and it's like a partnership of doing a particular task. Another one of the learning outcomes could be children develop fluency in reading and writing in language 1. The language 1 here is the mother tongue or the home language. And what better place than the home to actually learn that language? So the parents can help the children grow a big vocabulary bank, name all the things, actions, positions, descriptions of things around the house, and then the teacher in the class can help them to relate and consolidate this vocabulary. Now finally, the fifth domain, which is the aesthetic and cultural domain. So one of the learning outcomes here is communicates and appreciates a variety of responses while creating and experiencing different forms of art, local culture and heritage. So what parents can actually do is take children to local markets, museum, show them local artwork, buy them things that are made more locally, and let them just experience what it is like to have a whole range of things which can be seen in an artistic form around them. Another one of the points is the celebrations and their meaning and local customs, songs and rhythm in the local language, the dance form can become an essential part of the learning. So that's another lovely thing to do. Like I always say, these are ideas. You must build on them. When we talk about music, rhythm, celebrations, aesthetics, it could be food, it could be a dance, it could be an outfit, it could be something which is colorful around the children. So just draw the attention. So home could be a place where all this is actually introduced to the children and school can reinforce it. Another very important thing for home is that let the digital devices be a support and not a babysitter for the children. Plan and let children use digital space with diligence and careful monitoring to avoid a strong addiction which a lot of parents are complaining about. So the interesting part about digital games is that they release a certain chemical which makes children happy. So therefore they go to these games and they feel attracted to them. So the caution that we would suggest is that the adult create an environment of activities where there are a lot of happy moments. So the children come towards the activity-based learning and learn and enjoy the journey. So like if we're going to quickly consolidate, we look at the learning outcomes and then we try and relate certain activities with it and send it home to the parents as a suggestion that you can do this activity and it would help the child to reach this learning outcome. There is never a guarantee that the child is going to respond in exactly the way we want them to, but it's a pathway we are creating between the school, a level of learning, an expected level of learning which we convey to the parents, and they actually do activities and come back to the teachers and say that this is what we have done and this is what we have observed. So I do hope that this whole journey of taking the activity based learning forward is successful. Everybody enjoys it, the children, the parents and the teachers, and we keep taking this forward. And we'll see you in our next episode. And we are going to and it's going to be our 10th episode. So we are going to consolidate and come up with something really interesting for you. Thank you so much and have a good year. Bye-bye.
Square, square, panda.